Hi everyone, my name is Alain Chalabarde and I'm the game designer of Actor Tycoon 2. And in this tutorial, I will teach you how to mod for Actor Tycoon 2. So I'm not a professional programmer, and that's why I understand how hard it is for some people to do this sort of thing. And that's why I try to make modding for this game super easy. So at the beginning, it might feel a bit overwhelming, but trust me, it's a lot of fun and it's super easy. You can also reach out to me or to the rest of the community on our Discord, so you can ask your questions there and we'll be able to answer them. And just so you know, in this tutorial, I'm not going to get into details on how to mod a city or how to mod an actor or anything like that. It's going to be just covering the basics. So, like what does the modding folder look like? What do the files look like? What tools you might need, that sort of thing. So just the basics. So let's start with what tools you might need. To be honest, you don't really need to download anything. You can just use your notepad, as you can see here. However, the problem that I have with Notepad, as you can see here, is that it makes it a little hard to read because nothing's color-coded. And also, if you make a mistake, it won't tell you that you made a mistake. So I highly suggest you use something like Visual Studio, like I do. So in this case, you can see Visual Studio color codes everything, so it's a lot easier to read. And also, if you make a mistake, it will most likely tell you, hey, you made a mistake, and you're able to fix it. You can download it from their website. If you don't want to download Visual Studio, you can also download Sublime, which is pretty much the same, and it's free, and you don't need it to create an account or anything like that. So those are tools that I highly suggest you download. But again, if you don't want to, you can just use Notepad. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is the folder structure. So go to your installation folder. Now this might differ, every player has it in a different place, but generally it's most likely going to be here. Once you're in here, you go to Actor Tycoon 2 Data, then to Streaming Assets, then to Packs, and that's it. This is the modding folder. You don't need to go anywhere else. Everything we need is in here. And we're going to go through these 4 things so that you know what each one does. Images is only used in some mods. Not every mod needs images, but if you're going to have to upload some images, you will upload them here. Otherwise, just leave it there. Don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. Next thing I'm going to talk about is original. Now, original is the original game, so it has all the original files. And that's why I highly suggest you don't touch that. Because if you touch that or you modify it or you erase something, it most likely is going to break the game. It's a bit delicate. So if you don't want to touch it, what I would do is you create a new file, you call it something else. Let's say version 2, for instance. And then you're able to touch all the files here and do whatever you want without risking breaking the game. Because if you break the game, then you just delete this and you use the original. That's it. So don't touch this one if you can. What you can touch is what I created right here, mod sample. Now you can copy the original folder and modify it from there, but the problem is the original folder has everything that the game has. So it can be a little bit confusing to read and to go through. So that's why the mod sample I created on purpose, this folder, because it's very clean and it's full of templates. So you can just open it and you can easily modify it. So what I would do is you copy this folder, mod sample, and you call it whatever you want. Let's say aligns mod. There we go. And that's it. And this would be your mod. This would be your mod folder. And this is where you would edit all the files and create all the things the way you want to do them. All right. Finally, we're going to talk about data packs. So let's open this. As you can see, it's a JSON file. Now, if you're a programmer, you probably know what that is. If you're not a programmer, don't worry. It's just a format that is very commonly used, and it's super easy to modify. So this file in particular, datapacks.json, tells you which folders will be loaded in the game. So as you can see here, we're only loading the original folder, which is this one right here. Now let's say, well, I want to load Aligns mod as well. So what we do is we go to this file and we say Aligns mod. That's it. So now next time we start up the game, it will load the original folder and it will load the Aligns mod. Now it's very important that you keep this order. The reason is that it's in priority order, let's say. So for example, if I have the same thing in both mods, so let's say I have an actor called Michael and another actor called Michael, I will be using the one in front and I will be ignoring the one after. Generally, I would suggest that you keep the original one first and then any other mod afterwards. But once you get the hang of it and once you get more experience, then maybe you can play around with this. But anyway, there's a way to make sure that your mod is loaded in the game. Next thing we're going to be talking about is the actual files, the tricky files, let's say. So we're going to open data cities, as an example. I think it's a good place to start because most of the files have a very similar structure. So let's erase this for now so we can focus on the important thing. So as you can see, every file has a header and a footer, as you can see here. The header tells you, what you're modding in that place. So maybe it says cultures, or it could say genres, or something like that. In this case, it says cities. Okay. It's very important as well that you don't change the file names. So in this case, it's called data cities. So don't call it data cool cities because then it won't load. So make sure you keep the file names as they are. And now let's look at the specifics. So as you can see, I would call this an item. In this case, it's a city, but I would just call it an item because sometimes it will be a city, sometimes it will be an actor, sometimes it will be a genre. It just depends. And as you can see, it starts with this curly bracket and it ends with this curly bracket. So in this mod sample, you have a template of a city. So it's as easy as, well, I want to have a second city. So what you do is you copy this, comma, and there you go. You got a second city, and let's call it New York, for example. And it's as simple as that. So you just have to copy, paste, and that's how you create new cities. If it's an actor, same thing. If it's a genre, same thing. So it's super, super easy. I would just call these items. Make sure you don't have a comma in the last one. Just have comma in between them, and that's it. And I'm going to be talking about what these are. Now, it's super easy. It's basically you have a field, and you have to fill that field with something, and another field, and you have to fill it with something, and another field, and you have to fill it with something. And you can fill it with three types of data, more or less. I'm going to kind of simplify it a little bit. You have strings, which always start with this and end with this. Now, string is a fancy word for text, just plain text. It's just if you're a programmer, you would refer to it as strings. You have numbers, as you can see here. The numbers don't need the quotation marks in the beginning and the end, just as they are. If you're a programmer, this would be an integer. Now, we do have decimal points sometimes, but not everywhere, only in specific fields. And we'll define them in future tutorials. And finally, we have groups, which again, if you're a programmer, you would probably call it array or list, it depends. But groups begin with a square bracket and they end with a square bracket, and they contain more than one string or number or anything. So this could be, depends on what you're modding, of course, but this could be, two numbers over here. In this case, it's two texts. And that's it. So depending on what you're modding, I will be explaining what each one of these fields do and how they affect the game. But that's pretty much it. It's super, super simple. So the following tutorials I will be covering, for example, in this case, what is country ID, what is max stars, all this stuff. So this will be coming forward in the following tutorials. Meanwhile, I'm very excited to see what you guys come up with, and you should share your creations with me on Discord if you like, or on Steam, or anywhere. I'd love to see it. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.